Rapture becomes heard. Chapter 23, Part 2. Cursing himself for blundering, he took a quick step away from the table. His eyes met Lamb's and he hissed, Douse your lantern, someone is here. But it was too late. Even as he tried to kill his torch, a half-dozen figures appeared from behind the stacks of contraband and surrounded them. "We'll take the torches," said Tom Jocelyn, as he stepped forward, the pistol in his hand pointed at Barnaby's heart. Within minutes, Barnaby and Lamb were stripped of their torches and securely tied up. Arms fastened behind their backs, their ankles roped together, they sat on the ground, shoulder to shoulder, their backs against a stack of barrels of brandy. Full of rage at his own stupidity, Barnaby stared at Tom's smug features, his agile brain considering and discarding a dozen different means of escape. Barnaby knew that Lamb would be doing the same thing, and if he had to fight for his life, then he couldn't ask for a better companion at his side than Lamb. He glanced around, recognizing Peckham standing beside the table, and realizing after a closer look that the other men were some of the brutes he'd seen at the Lamb's Head. The situation wasn't as desperate as it appeared. He had Lamb at his side, and their pockets in the inside of their coats, having searched for weapons. The knife inside his boot had not been discovered, nor the equally dangerous blade Barnaby knew Lamb carried. The smugglers should have known better, that they'd been looking for pistols, not concealed knives. The lantern on the table was relit, and Tom Johnson seated himself on a corner of the table, a satisfied smile on his lips. Looking at Barnaby and Lamb, trussed up like a pair of Christmas peacocks before him, Tom said, "To think that after all my scheming, you simply wander into my hands like, aha." He grinned, "Lambs to slaughter." "That remains to be seen," Barnaby said in a bored tone. "You're not managed to kill me yet." Tom's face darkened. "That may be, but I'm afraid this time your luck has run out." He leaned forward. "Matt should have been Viscount Jocelyn," he snapped. "All his life he was groomed from the title. It was his, and you stole it from him." Hatred glittered in the azure eyes. "Bah, every time I look at you, I am reminded of a pig dressed up in silk." His voice shook with emotion and he spat. "Every time I've had to bow and call you my lord, the words burned like acid in my mouth, and I dreamed of the day you die, and Matt would take his rightful place." His gaze watchful, Barnaby said, "Ah, so your desire for my death has nothing to do with keeping your connection with Noel's and his gang a secret?" "I'll admit your death would be killing two birds with one stone," Tom answered. "Matt inherits the title and windman, and I no longer have to worry that you'll poke your nose where it doesn't belong." A smile tugged at his lips. "Your death would be my noble deed for my brother, giving him all that was meant to be his from birth." "Don't delude yourself," Barnaby growled. "You're not killing me for Matthew. You're killing me to hide your lucrative arrangement with Noel's." Tom smirked. "Well, there is that. Even if Matt were to discover the source of my fortune, he'd not betray me." For a moment, something vicious flashed in Tom's eyes. "Now, Simon. Simon will turn me over to the revenue service in the blink of an eye." Looking thoughtful, he rubbed his chin. "I feel that my younger brother may suffer a fatal accident a few months from now." He smiled at Barnaby. "Of course, should that cow of yours be with child, I'll have to take care of her first. Such a tragedy will be. First you, and then your wife and her unborn child." Barnaby surged forward, murder blazing in his eyes. Tom laughed and, standing up, kicked him in the head. Barnaby saw stars and, sliding sideways, fought against the blackness that threatened to overtake him. From beside him he heard Lamb ask calmly, "Tell me, Did you enjoy torturing kittens as a child, or was it puppies? Certainly it had to be something defenseless, because you're too much of a coward to offer a fair fight. I wonder if his hands were untied if you dare touch him. Shut your filthy mouth, Tom snarled, striking Lamb in the face with his fist. Turning to Barnaby, he prodded him with his foot. Who knows you're down here? Fighting off the dizziness, Barnaby struggled into a sitting position. You expect me to tell you? And if I don't, what will you do? He grinned. Kill me? Annoyed, Tom said, it doesn't matter. By the time your disappearance is discovered, it'll be too late for you. A cold smile curving his lips. He said, this time when you end up in the channel, there'll be no escape. It was late afternoon when Emily and Cornelia returned home, greeted by smiling Tilda in a black and white tile foil. As she handed him her gloves, Emily asked, My lord, is he about? Hey, Tilden hesitated. I saw him earlier this afternoon with Lamb, but I've not seen him since. Emily smiled at him. He's probably in his study or at the Dower House visiting his brother. Will you find him and tell him that we are home and that once my aunt and I have freshened up, that we will be in the blue and silver salon and would like him to join us? Several minutes later, when Emily and Cornelia entered the salon, Emily was surprised to find the room empty. I suppose he is at the Dower House and hasn't returned yet, Emily said, wandering around the room. She and Cornelia were very pleased with their afternoon's work at the vicarage, and she'd been looking forward to relaying to Barnaby the difference this very generous donation, had made to the poor in the area. She and Cornelia spent a pleasant half-hour discussing their accomplishments and future plans. But as time passed and there was no sign of Barnaby, Emily began to fidget. Where was he? She wasn't worried yet, but unease fluttered in her chest. Telling herself he was completely delayed by business, she chatted away with Cornelia, but her ears were pricked for the sound of his arrival. Aware that Emily was only half listening to her, Cornelia said bluntly, Ring for Tilden and asked him to find out what is delaying your husband and stop fretting nothing's happened to him. Looking somewhat harassed, Tilden appeared in answer to her pull of the velvet bell rope in a corner. When Emily asked after Barnaby, Tilden muttered, we cannot find him. The unease in her chest bloomed into near panic. What do you mean you cannot find him? She asked in a surprisingly calm tone. He's fine, she told herself. I am fearful for no reason. He's here in the house somewhere. Tugging at his cravat, Tilden said, When I did not find him in his study or the library, or any of the rooms where he would usually be, I sent one of the footmen to inquire if he was at the Dower House. He shook his head. He was not there. Almost wringing his hands, Tilden cried, We have searched everywhere, but there is no sign of him or Lamb. Lamb! If Lamb was with him, her fear eased back, and her eyes narrowed. You said you saw him and Lamb earlier. Where? Tilden's face cleared. Of course. They must still be in the wine cellar, he laughed nervously. My lord must have decided to sample a few bottles and hasn't realized the time. I wouldn't bet on it, Emily said under her breath as she rushed from the room. Tilden was at her heels when she entered the wine cellar, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head when she walked right over to the corner wine track, and a moment later the secret door opened. There was no sign of their passage, but she was as certain that she was standing there that Barnaby and Lamb hadn't been able to resist the opportunity to explore the tunnel on their own. Ignoring the panic nipping at her ankles, telling herself that at any moment she'd see the flicker of light that would hurry to return. She stared into the darkness, willing Barnaby and Lamb to appear, but they did not. Welling threw the look around to look at Tilden, she demanded, When did you see them? How long ago? It was hours ago, early afternoon. Pointing at the secret doorway, he asked, awed, How long has that been there? Shutting the door and returning the wine rack to its customary place, she said, Probably since Windmere was first built. She didn't have time to know, as she'd been wise or incredibly stupid by showing Tilden the secret door. But the damage was done. Fixing him with a look, she said, "I trust you'll keep this to yourself." "Oh, indeed, milady," Tilden promised earnestly. Her thoughts turning, she hastened to the main part of the house. Stopping to look back at Tilden, she said, "Send someone to the stables and have a horse saddled for me. Tell my aunt I'll be joining her in a few minutes." Emily had no clear plan as she mounted the stairs to her rooms. If Tilden was correct, Barnaby and Lamb had been missing for hours. There had been time aplenty for them to have done the exploring and returned. Charging into her room, she ran across through the sitting room, across her bedroom, and into her dressing room. Throwing wide the doors of one of the wardrobes, wild conjecture tumbling through her brain, she poked around looking for the bundle of clothes she brought from the Birches. If they hadn't returned, something or someone had delayed them. Frightened as she had never been in her life, she concentrated on the task at hand. Finding what she was looking for, she scrambled out of her gown and into the male attire she wore on that first night she met Barnaby. Attire she admitted grimly she never thought to wear again. She snorted. That was a lie. Else why had she brought it with her? Had she sensed she might have need of it? After slipping a pistol into one pocket of her coat, she slid her knife into the other. Armed, she dragged out a black coat from another wardrobe and whipping it around her shoulders. From another wardrobe, heading downstairs for the salon where Cornelia awaited her. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, she paused, struggling to compose herself and to make sense out of the chaos spinning in her brain. Just because Barnaby and Lamb couldn't be found didn't mean they were in danger. There could be a reasonable explanation for their absence, she reminded herself, and that reason would have nothing to do with secret tunnels, smugglers, or the fact that someone had made 3 different attempts on her husband's life. Except she didn't believe it. She was certain that Barnaby and Lamb had gone exploring and that, somehow, they ended up in the hands of the Noel's gang. She swallowed painfully. Barnaby could be in the hands of whoever was trying to kill him, had perhaps already killed him. Eyes silver with panic, the cloak flying out behind her. Emily burst into the salon and skidded to a stop when she saw Matthew, still wearing his greatcoat, smiling and talking with her aunt. They both looked up astonished at her impetuous entrance. Cornelia's breath caught at the sight of Emily's garb. Recognizing the significance of it, her hand at her throat, she cried, "My dear, what is it?" Emily hesitated. Just because Matthew was here now didn't mean he didn't know what Barnaby and Lamb wore or their fate. Her husband slid in the pocket of her jacket and closed around the pistol. Eyes hard on Matthew, she demanded. "Why are you here?" Thoroughly taken aback not only by her dress, but her manner, Matthew stared at her as if she had gone mad. I was in the area," Matthew stammered, clearly thrown off stride. "You're lying," Emily said. "Simon wrote you." Matthew's lips thinned. "What if he did? He's worried about your husband. Someone's tried to kill him, remember? You?" She hauled the accusation at him like a spear. His fists clenched, and he took a threatening step toward her, the azure eyes blazing. "By God, if you were a man, I'd knock you down for that. For the last time, I do not want your husband dead." Quietly, Cornelia said, "I believe him. I told you that you're wrong about Simon. I'm telling you now, you'd be wrong not to trust Matthew. I watched both boys grow up into fine men, and I trust them as much as I do Barnaby." "Barnaby's life may hang in the balance," Emily warned with a desperate glance at her great aunt's face. "Which is why you have to trust Matthew. Whatever has happened, and something obviously has, you cannot save him by yourself," Cornelia said softly. Emily bit out a curse. Feeling time spinning away, every moment she hesitated, she made a decision, and God help her if it was the wrong one. Concisely, she told him what she and Lamb had discovered yesterday at the old barn, ended with Barnabas and Lamb's disappearance. She didn't have to explain herself twice. Matthew grasped the situation immediately. His eyes as hard and grim as hers, he said, "You think they've stumbled onto something they shouldn't have, and that they've been captured by the smugglers, and the man who has tried to kill your husband." She nodded curtly. "There's no point in following the tunnel from this end. If they have them, they'll have to move them out from the barn entrance." She smiled, as lethal a smile as Matthew had ever seen. "And I'll be waiting for them." Matthew's smiles matched hers. "No, my dear, we'll be waiting for them."